Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. My name is Gaël. I'm a customer success manager for Comeen, and today I'll be showing you how you can easily and quickly deploy today for your Google Workspace environment as an administrator. Just a quick reminder about today. It's one of Comeen's features. It's the one that we built in order to answer the needs for office attendance management and desk booking system. Little reminder about the desk booking. It's a way you are able to book desk according to specific criteria, but it won't necessarily be the same desk every day, at the opposite of desk hoteling, where you always book the same desk. Just before going through the deployment process, if there's one thing you need to keep in mind about today, is that we are the most integrated solution so far with the Google Workspace environment. That means that you'll be able to synchronize your users, groups of users, buildings, and meeting rooms directly from your Google Console admin in Comeen. As an administrator, you might think that it's difficult to install and deploy a new tool inside your company, and you might be right. But the difference with today is that you won't lose any time while deploying or teaching your users how to, since it is completely integrated to the tools they already use on a daily basis. And now, no more waiting. Let's see how you can do all of this. Let's go for the very first step of the deployment process. What you'll have to do now is to go on your browser, tap getcomeen.com inside the search bar and access our website. When on that page, go for the blue button sign up for free up there, and then select the option subscribe with Google. Authenticate with your SSO, and then fulfill your space information. So you just have to give a name to your space, so most people will use their company's name. Then choose a subdomain name and just make sure that it's still available. Then click on Start the preparation of my space. Then, in a few moments, you should see that Comeen has just created your account and that you can now log in by clicking on that black button up there. Just before going for the configuration of your space, you'll need to confirm the new account you just created on Comeen. To do so, just go on your mail address, open the automatic mail you just received from Comeen, and confirm your email by clicking the button. This is done, you can now configure your space. Now that your Comeen account is created and that you have confirmed it, you can go now for the configuration of your space. So the first step is to go for the building section inside your menu, click on the tab, and then you have two options. Whether you can create and edit manually your buildings, or you can synchronize it with your Google Console admin and directly import them into Comeen. So since you are an administrator and will be deploying Comeen for your whole company, we will do it from the Google Console admin via this link. So now Comeen is informing us that we don't have yet the authorizations to go through that method. So we just go to the settings, which will take us to the settings section inside the integration step. And then we just have to click on Google Workspace to authorize the two access we'll need for this integration. So first thing, you'll have to allow the buildings and meeting room synchronization in order to be able to import your buildings. So just sign in with Google and use the SSO you've been using so far. Make sure to allow Comeen to have access to the different authorization, and do the same thing for the Google Groups and user synchronization in order to be able to import your users directly into Comeen. So same thing, you just have to make sure that you grant access to Comeen, and then just go back to your building section and go for Manage Google Workspace Buildings. And you should now see the different buildings you already imported into your Google Console admin that you are now able to select and import into Comeen. So here, I'll just take the two first one, save it, and confirm it. Congratulations, you just imported your two first buildings. Once your building is imported, you can now configure them. To do so, click on the building you want to configure and go to the bottom section of this page to click on the button Edit. You can see that the main information of this building are already fulfilled since you synchronized it with your Google Console admin. So you just have now to define the total capacity for this building. Here we'll say it's 150 people, and if needed, to change or keep the allowed threshold. Then, final step, you need to say if you want to deactivate or activate the desk booking. Here, since we want to see how then we'll be able to use the desk booking system of today, we'll activate it. Last thing, think about saving your changes for them to be taken into account. Once your building edited, you can now go to the floors section where you'll be able to create your floors. Create as many as you need. Give them their total capacity and the allowed threshold if needed. Then define if the desk booking is inherited, deactivated, or activated. Here it will be activated. I just created my first floor. I can now create what we call areas. So the idea of area is that you are able to gather people from the same service, for example, in the same place. Let's say, for example, that I want my IT team to sit at the same place inside the building. So I'll say, okay, there's an area called IT inside the first floor where there are 10 seats, and I want there to activate the desk booking. I just create this area, and now inside my first floor, I have the area IT. I can create as many as I want according to the number of services I want to implement. And then I am able to create another floor. Let's say I want a second floor where there are also 50 places. Then I want also the desk booking to be activated, but since we already activated it for the building, I can just say, okay, it's inherited, and I can create my floor. Last thing, since you can create floors where you have desk booking, you can also create floor where people can just declare their presence without booking a desk. How to do so? Create another floor, call it third floor, define the total capacity to 50, since there are 150 people inside the building. And here we'll say, okay, we don't want the desk booking to be activated, since people will just say, okay, I'm coming today and I'll find myself a desk. So now we have our 3 first floors. Just before creating your desks, go to the settings menu and open the desks tab. Here you'll be able to create your desk equipments, meaning the equipments that will be associated to the future desk you'll create. So let's say that some of your desks are equipped with an additional screen. So we create a desk equipment called this way. And let's say that some of them can have a mouse and a keyboard available. So we create another equipment. Now that this is done, we can go to the desk creation menu. And now to create your desks, just go back to the building section, select the one you are configuring and go to the desk section. Here you can create a new desk by clicking this button. Just fulfill the blank spaces. Say, okay, this one will be the first desk for IT area. So I'll call it IT1. I'll give it the ID T1 because it's the first desk. I'll choose the first floor, the area IT, and let's say that it has both equipments and it is available to booking. Now just click on create. Congratulations, you just created your first desk. If you want to create any more, you can use that method. Otherwise, follow the other method with the Google Sheet file. Once you created your desks and your floors, you can go back to the floor section to import first a floor plan. So use the one your company will give you or create one. And then you are able to add the area you created on that plan. Here, as I said, I want my IT team to work together. So I create an area here for the IT team, and then I'll be able to import in it the desk I created for it. So here I just have one desk that I've prepared for the IT area. I can go into the floors, click on desks, and now I'm able to place my desk in the area. I just need to place it in it, and now it will be automatically associated with the IT area. If you come to create another desk, let's say for example that this one won't have any equipment, or it won't even be inside the IT area, we then have just to select which floor it is on and to create it. And this time the desk will also be placeable, but we will place it outside the IT area, wherever we want, for example here. Now the next step of the configuration will concern the space settings. So go to your settings menu and click on the tab called Space. You'll be able to change your logo if you want, and also the name of your space. It's also the place where you are able to define how your users can log in to Comeen. So here I just recommend you to leave it how it is. Then you can define how many weeks in advance users will be able to book, which means that, for example, they'll be able to book 1 week, 2 weeks, or even more in advance. So here you can just leave it how it is or make it less or more. And last step, you need to configure how people will be notified by Comeen. So you can activate the email and SMS notifications, for example. What we highly recommend as Google users is that you activate the Google Chat notifications. And last thing, if you are users of Workplace from Facebook or of Slack, you can also activate the notifications on those platforms. Last thing, do not forget to save your changes in order for them to be taken into account by Comeen. Now that the configuration is pretty advanced, we can go a bit further. For your desks, not only, you are able to offer an extra options that we call Office Extras. The idea here is to be able to offer to your users to book options that are not mandatorily attached to a desk. That means that even if you didn't have the opportunity to book a desk, you can still book one of those options. Let's take an example. So when you are in your settings and inside the Office Extras tab, you can create a new Office Extra. So for the emoji icon, I recommend you to get on emojipedia.org, and then you can search for what you need. Here I need a car, so I'm getting this little automobile, and I'm pasting it inside the emoji bar. Then I'll call it park slot, as it's in an identifier. I'll be choosing a type of enumeration. So here, since it will be for park slots, we know that it's a finite number and that it is identified. So we'll be using the third option. Then you can choose how it will be translated. Before giving it a name, I'll just keep park slot. And for the description, you can just fulfill for your colleagues to know what it is about. Book a park slot before coming to the office with your car. So now people can be sure that when they come with their car, they'll be able to have a place to park it. Congrats, we just created our first extra type. Now we need to go to the global extra setup, create a new, to associate this extra type to one of our buildings or even several buildings, and say, okay, those goes to the board office. I save it, and now I can go to the list button and define how many extras car slot I'll have. So just click on new. Here you say, okay, it's park slot 1. You save it and you just have your first park slot. Let's say you have 2 park slots inside your building. You'll create another one called park slot 2. And this way you just created 2 new office extras that people will be able to book when they create their presence. So if now we go to the building section in the Bordeaux office, we see that in the office extras, we just created a new type of office extra, which is park slot. If you paid attention while we were configuring the office extras, you might have noticed that there are several types of enumeration. And for a reason, because when you take finite identified as we did for the park slot, it's a good way to clearly identify an item. Let's say, for example, that now when I'll be booking the office extra park slot 1, I can know exactly where this park slot 1 is, and so I'll be able to park my car at the right place. But if you come to use, for example, finite non-identified, then it will be better used, for example, for lockers, because most companies now use lockers, but they are not attributed to a person. They are available to be used, but not really attributed. Here we'll call them lockers for the name and the identifier. It will be locker whatever. And for the emoji, we'll just use again Emojipedia, and I'll be using this little locked with key to illustrate it. One last thing, you can give a description again to explain what it is. So your colleagues will know what it is about. And once again, you can go to the global extra setup and associate this type of extra to the building you want, or even, for example, several buildings. Now we have lockers that are attributed to 2 of our buildings. So if we go to the building section inside the Office Extras tab, we can see that we have a new type of office extra. So that is for France Bordeaux office. We have now 2 office extras, and if I go to our other building, I can see that I just have the locker. Now that our space is pretty well configured, we can import our users. Either you can do it manually and individually and create on that button and import people by people your users. Otherwise, you can use the groups, either create them manually, but since we synchronize Comeen with our Google Console admin, it's better to use the button Manage Google Workspace Groups. And this way, we'll be able to pick and select the groups that we want to import into Comeen. And as you can see, then I'm able to see which group and how many members in it I just imported. Click on confirm and success. You just imported all of your groups of users. Just before moving to the next step, don't forget for each of your groups that you want to equip with today to click on them, go on the button edit and activate the role today. Don't forget to save your changes and repeat the operation for each of your groups. As you can see, I've just activated today for my IT team, and I can now do it for the other groups I want to activate today on. Once you imported your groups of users, you are now able to configure your presence rules. To do so, go to the settings menu, click on the presences tab, and here, create a new custom presence rule. As you can see, there's a starting date for each rule. You can decide whether it will be applied all the time or if it has to end at a certain date. Then you'll be able to decide if you want to apply this rule to everyone or only to specific groups, the one we just imported. And at that moment, you are able to define which rule you are creating. So let's say, for example, that I want only to have 3 days maximum at the office, because there's a law in my country that makes it mandatory. Here, I'll be able to prevent the user from working more than the maximum days. This is also a rule that I can prevent, but here it can be interesting since I don't want people to go more than 3 times a week to the office. And then we're able to decide for users recommended and blocked locations. So typically, I said that I have an IT area inside the first floor of my Bordeaux office. So I'll be selecting as a building the France Bordeaux office. Then I'll be deciding for the first floor and only for the IT that their recommended location will be this one. So here I'll be applying this rule only to the IT and I'll be able to add it. This way I can see that I have created my first custom presence rule. Then I could also say, okay, since the team from IT always have to be inside the first floor in the IT area, I don't want them to go to France headquarters at all, and either to France Bordeaux office to the second floor that is reserved for other people. And here I've just created my first customized presence rule from my IT group. Now that you have created the first customized presence rule, you can create as many as you want for any group or for even all of your users. Since you are an administrator, you might want to keep track of how your people are using Comeen and where they are effectively coming to the office. To do so, nothing is easier. You just have to go to the data export section inside your settings menu. And here you are able to select a starting date and an ending date to export your employees' booking and keep track of it. And last but not least, when you'll have exported your data from Comeen, you'll be able to exploit it into Google Data Studio in order for you to have a better view of your information and to have a better understanding of it. Once again, as the most integrated solution with Google Workspace environment, we always try to give the best experience and tool to Google Workspace users. Congratulations, Comeen's configuration is over. The very last step you'll have to go through is to now deploy our solution on your groups of users in order for them to be equipped with the new tool today. To complete this final step, go back to Google Workspace Marketplace, search for our page Comeen Workplace Management, and click on the button Admin Install. As you can see it here, Comeen will just inform you that it might take up to 24 hours for all of your users to be equipped with Comeen today. So just click on Continue. Here you'll see all the authorization we need. If you want to deploy it to everyone or only certain groups or organizational units. And then think about agreeing to our terms of services and click on Finish. In a few moments, Comeen should be deployed on your whole Google Workspace environment, and so all of your users are now equipped with today. To make sure if it worked, you can open one of your colleagues' calendar, go to the right sidebar and click on the add-on Comeen and see that they'll be able to begin their onboarding on today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and that you'll be using today very soon. If you have any questions or remarks, you can leave them as a comment below this video. We'll make sure to answer to them. Otherwise, you can directly contact us or join our LinkedIn community to go further with us. Thank you again. That was Gaël, Customer Success Manager for Comeen, and I hope to meet you very soon.